Excited to be talking with Paul Goydos here at the 43rd.
43rd.
Yeah, 43rd U.S. Senior Open right here, SentryWorld in Wisconsin. Gabe, Neitzel, Stephen Watson. Paul, you played the back nine.
We did.
What were your thoughts of the back nine?
Good. It's gonna be a good test. I mean, it's the rough is thick. You know, I hit it in there. Golf course is gonna be. I think this course is gonna be a very challenging golf course. It's in really good shape. Just keep it in. You need to keep the ball in play. If you get the ball out of position, it's gonna be tough.
Any holes in particular really stand out to you?
Well, obviously 16. I mean, the par 3 surrounded by the flowers. We were trying to figure out all the different flowers. My caddy kind of he's into gardening and knows the whole down. He couldn't even tell what all the flowers were, but it's just, it's as pretty a hole as you're ever going to play, and it's going to look great on television.
We still don't know yet if you're going to be able to play out of the flowers yet. Would you want to?
Well, I mean, if your choices are penalties, then yeah, if you can. We actually hit one in there, and it was kind of playable, but I don't know if that's what they want. I mean, I don't know exactly.
My guess is they don't want like a big chunk of the flowers taken out. It wouldn't look great on
Caddyshack when he's whacking the flower. Yeah. I don't know that that's what they're looking for, but it's a beautiful. Hopefully, you won't hit it in the flowers. Let's just go with that. This other goal.
I mean, how competitive? I mean, I think people in Wisconsin have kind of gotten a taste of the Champions Tour with Steve's event, the MFAM Championship down in Madison.
Absolutely.
How good are these players? Because I think that you guys are criminally underrated.
I would agree 100%. I mean, Bernard Langer, who's been dominant, he was 58 years old. He played in the last group at Augusta. He was 58.
Yeah.
The year that I think that Spieth had trouble coming in. Patrick Harrington's been playing well on the European Tour and the PGA Tour.
Oh, he's been moving it.
He finished in the top 25 in the U.S. Open last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm criminally underrated. There's going to be 10 or 15 Hall of Famers here this week. I mean, where else? There's no place on the planet where you can see that.
How is preparing for a Senior Open major different than maybe preparing for a major in the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I would say that the Senior U.S. Open is kind of like the U.S. Opens were in the 90s when I was playing. The course is 200 yards long. The fairways are really narrow. The rough is really high. The greens are really fat. That's kind of how, if you watched at LA Country Club, they had 45-yard wide fairways. Yeah. Well, this is more like when you watch the U.S. Open in the 80s and 90s, where you had the 25 or 30-yard wide fairways. You drive in the rough, you're probably pitching it out. You really have to mind your P's and Q's through the golf course, or you can really, get yourself in trouble.
You mentioned to us before we jumped on here that your caddy's from Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
You played the event at the AmFam.
I have.
You're out here. What do you think of golf in Wisconsin?
It's great. I mean, the AmFam's a great event. Stricker does such a great job. I can remember going back and playing Brown Dew Park at the Greater Milwaukee Open. I actually played Tuckaway when they had the Greater. You guys don't even know. You guys might have been born then. Milwaukee, here, my thing, we'd go to, you play the Greater Milwaukee Open, we played Brown Deer, we stayed at this hotel, you had Kopps right next door to the hotel.
Oh, man.
I mean, you can't beat that. So you're sitting there eating custard, and it's the greatest. I mean, I love that stuff.
How much does that stuff matter to you guys when you're traveling so much?
There's a Kopps is, that's a very unique to me. I mean, they obviously have to change, but I've never had anything like that. So there are certain things that are unique to that city, and when I think of Milwaukee, that's kind of what we did. We'd go every night. We'd stay at that hotel. You get something to eat, go get some frozen custard, and I mean every night. To me. That's kind of, from my person, maybe you guys don't, maybe there's Miller beer or Pabst, and there's, is it Kopps, I guess it's called. It's been a few years. That's kind of what we thought of Milwaukee. It was great. I loved it. That's one of the reasons you would go. And we stayed in that hotel for that particular reason.
Kopps is an institution, so I'm glad you're recognizing it.
I think there's two of them. I think.
There's three of them now.
This was the one down kind of 10 minutes from Brown Deer.
Paul's one of us.
He's absolutely one of us.
Yeah.
You were talking a little bit. I mean, the world of golf is changing. It's not so much for you guys on the Senior Tour, but the world of golf kind of changing. And I know there's still some details out there that need to be figured out, but do you have any thoughts on the way the world of professional golf is changing?
Well, I think that we sometimes with sports, we forget it's a business. We don't look at baseball and football and basketball. We don't look at them as business, and they all. And we live, whether I know people don't want to talk, we live in a capitalistic society, and competition tends to cause these types of fights when you have it. If this were two law firms, we wouldn't even be talking about it. If this was Coke and Pepsi, we wouldn't be talking about it. But since it's golf and it's these celebrities and Tiger Woods and whatnot, people are talking about it. The reality is they had this competition. The other thing is in sports, we don't want competition, really.
Yeah.
We don't. In Major League Baseball, we only want one Major League Baseball. We don't need, we don't need separate leagues. Baseball now, they even have interleague play. Now everybody plays everybody in baseball. Yeah. And I think the competition is better. If you start spreading the competition out, we only have one Olympics. We only have one NFL. We have minor leagues. Like Canadian was a little more minor league. We have college football. We don't need these. Sports doesn't need, in a sense, that kind of competition. The competition is between the AmFam and Principal in Des Moines, who can get the better field. That's where the competition lies. In PJ Tour, you're going to have a tournament, the Wells Fargo competing with the Honda for players. That's where the competition lies, in person, things like that.
I know it's dominated the talk of the PGA Tour and us as content creators to talk about the future of golf. Is this what you guys are talking about on the practice range and when you're out here on practice rounds?
I think obviously the last 3 weeks has been a jolt. I mean, I didn't see that one coming, and now for something completely different. I didn't see that happening that quickly. I think eventually, the NFL and the AFL were fighting against each other, and they merged. The ABA and the NBA fighting against each other and merged. What's made this one a little different is there's a foreign entity involved that maybe not everybody likes, and that's fine. But eventually, those things business tends to work those things out, and everybody kind of gets. It's going to be messy. Capitalism is messy. Democracies are messy. We're seeing that every day, but they generally work out okay.
What's the state of your game? How do you feel you're going to do this week? Why are you laughing?
Awful.
I don't understand why that question's funny.
He's one of us.
It's been, games ebb and flow, and my game's been kind of going down the last month for whatever reason. And I would best describe my golf game as a jack-in-the-box. I just keep cranking the thing and hope it pops up one day, And right now it hasn't been good. I played terrible last week for 3 days. But you just keep doing the work. You keep waiting for it. Either the tide turns or they throw you off the tour. That's just kind of how it works in golf. Well, in baseball, if you go into a slump and never come out of it, they cut you. That's just the way it is. And if you go into a slump and never come out with eligibility, they get rid of you pretty quick in sports, and that's fine. I've had a nice long 35-year career or whatever it's been. It's been okay. And you get to come play here. I mean, playing U.S. Senior, this is the most important event in senior golf in the world. This is the event in the world this year for senior golf. And to get a chance to play in that's going to be great.
As somebody who's made a career out of playing this game, how do you get out of the funk that you think you're in right now? Like, what's the key for you to get out?
I think, something that I don't have, which is patience. Half my caddy's probably thinking, my caddy talks about, and I think this is absolutely true, that when I stop playing and he stops caddying, he will be more than qualified to work at an insane asylum. Because I have to deal with this guy every day, and that's just kind of it. You think about it. I played 500 events on the PGA Tour. I think I played my 700th event this year, and between the two tours, and I won twice on the PGA Tour. I won 7 times, so I win 1% of the time. So 99% of the time, I did not reach my goal that week, and that eventually. For me, it does beat you up, and you have to learn to deal with those things.
Like for me, every third time I play, I think about quitting the sport. Like, how often have you gone to the point like, I'm quitting?
I played with Tom Gillis last week, and I said, I'm done. I'm done. And I 3-putted every hole coming in, and I'm done. And he's just laughing and laughing and laughing at me. And the next day, hey, you quit yet? You still playing next week? It's just a hard game, and I played with Kevin Sutherland, and he talked to me, and you kind of who you are, and as you get older, you kind of become more of who you are. I'm more negative, I'm more despondent, you'd think you get older, you get smarter, but in golfers, at least for me, the older I get, the dumber I get. It's disappointing. There's Tom Gillis right there. Hey, Tom! I'm retired. Let's see. We're all nuts, and so, but you guys probably, I know golf. I really don't know anything else. I'm sure when you follow the Brewers, you kind of go, these guys are nuts,
Yeah,
we're
all crazy.
Yeah. So in professional athletes, quote in quotes.
No, you're a professional athlete.
I think so, but maybe there's other people here who might disagree. When you play a game for a living, the one thing you don't do is grow up. I mean, I was 25 until I was 56. And all of a sudden, what happened? I was always felt that way. When you play a game for a living, it does kind of keep you at least feeling young, mentally, not physically, but mentally. And I think that can be problematic. I still think like a 25-year-old, which is no good. I want to think like
a. You're crushing.
I want to think like
a.
That's why I want to think like a. Well, but again, you laugh at that, but that's the point. Is that I eat like a kid still. I mean, I eat like a 25-year-old too. Pizza and Kopps and to disaster.
Well, I can't wait to watch you on a par 5 and be thinking like a 25-year-old, and you're going to be going.
Well, yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I don't have enough length anymore. You should. Kevin Sutherland will be. The golf course is pretty long.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, we're standing on one 460-yard par 4 right away to start.
It's going to be pretty long, intense, very long par 5, very difficult long par 5. The fairways are generous to a kind of. Is it soft? But rain. Yeah. Because that tends to make them wider than they actually are. But the guy who wins this week better drive his ball good.
What's the most important hole on this golf course and why?
I've only seen I've seen the back nine, which is usually where things are settled.
Get interesting.
For lack of a better word. And what I like about this golf course is, you look how it finishes. 10's a par 5. You can play it well. You'll have a look at birdie. 11's a shortish par 4 that is going to yield birdies, but it's also going to yield bad scores with water. You're going to have that's kind of a hole where you can kind of mess things up. 12's a par 3 that you're just hoping to make a 3 every day. And then you got 13's kind of a hole you might be able to do something. You got a par 5, but then you have a really hard par 4, and then you got the flower hole's going to play hard.
Yeah.
And then 17's a hole that if you kind of aggressive and do the right things, but then 18's going to play hard. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a golf course that's got a lot of movement. Having a 3 or 4 shot lead, say in the 10th tee, is not going to be all that safe because you could shoot 2 over and somebody can shoot 2 or 3 under. Those things you're going to have that volatility. Now I don't know if that's the case on the front nine as much. On the back nine, I think you could have some volatility, which I think is good. We watched the the U.S. Open. Ricky Fowler made 18 birdies in the first 36 holes. I was saying, wow! But he also made 10 bogeys.
People weren't talking about as much about that. Yeah.
Right, but to me, that's a good thing. He hit good shots and got rewarded, and he hit bad shots and got penalized. And I think this golf course is going to do a little of that. You're going to see guys on the back nine make 4 birdies and 3 bogeys. You're going to see a lot of that because if you hit good shots, you're going to get rewarded with good things. But if you hit bad shots, holy crap, you're in trouble. And you're going to see some of that. And it's going to be, you're going to have to, you're going to have to deal with that come on Sunday. The winner's going to have to see how he can handle that situation.
Paul, really appreciate it. Best of luck this week, man.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Enjoy the Kopps after.
Yeah.